Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to our /Entitled People, where smug Karens truly believe the world revolves around them and nobody else matters. And in this episode, it's all about Karens and Christmas, guys. And Opie tells a story about the time her mom invoices her for a ridiculous amount of money instead of giving Opie a gift. Ain't that something? Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories. Don't shake your heads too hard. And as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So to start, our household has always revolved around money, even though my mom made more than enough money and we weren't struggling by any means. For as long as I can remember, my mom would always complain about every single thing she had to buy for us. Everything. Food, clothes, medical expenses, toys, laptops, phones, school costs, everything. Growing up, we always knew exactly how much we were costing her. She would never let us hear the end of it. And because of that, we didn't dare ask for unnecessary things like leisure activities or expensive toys or hobby supplies. We started working very young, and she manipulated and guilted us to give her all the money we earned to, quote, pay off what we owed her. With that said, when I turned 18, she completely cut me off financially, but she kindly offered to let me rent my bedroom from her. For Christmas that same year, when my mom handed me a box, I was actually surprised, as I remember her telling me the whole year to not expect anything from her, since I'm an adult now. Well, I opened the box and I was shocked. Inside this neatly wrapped present was an invoice of every single cent I've cost her, totaling over $700,000. That's right, she billed me for all the past Christmases and birthday presents. She billed me for her medical expenses for the pregnancy and delivery, and she billed me for my medical expenses for 18 years. She also wanted me to back pay rent since the day I was born. My mom did the same to my sister 2 years later when she turned 18. We were supposed to pay her back over time, starting the day we turned 18. Both of us were still dealing with a lot of guilt from her constant manipulation, so we actually did pay for a while. Aside from the necessary expenses, our entire paychecks were going to her. We rented our bedrooms in her house, and she separated her food, cleaning supplies, cookware, tableware, etc. from ours, and she charged us to use them. She generously included the use of household appliances in our rent. It wasn't until I was 21 and my sister was 19 that enough people told us that this whole arrangement was unhinged, and we finally snapped out of it. We moved out together, and we've since stopped paying our mom or even contacting her at all. Guys, what in the frickin' world, right? And this is why some people often wonder why their grown adult kids never call them. Like, this is a woman who probably never loved her kids, who just saw them as financial burdens in her life. And I feel so bad for Opie and her sister. Like, parents usually want to give their kids the world, right? And just hearing how mom nickeled and dimed everything to the tune of $700,000 is absolutely mind-boggling. And the fact that Opie and her sister were actually guilted into paying and were making payments, oh my goodness. Guys, let me know what you would do. Nothing like getting a $700,000 invoice from your own mom for Christmas, hey? So this happened many years ago when I was 12 years old. And since it's around the holidays, I thought I would share. The two main characters other than me are my snobby aunt, who's not related to me, who we'll call Janice, and my mom, who's kind of the entitled person throughout this story. So bear with me. Christmas Eve, we usually spend having dinner at Janice's house. Now, a thing about Janice is she doesn't believe in kid food. Her children never had TV dinners until they went to college. So this event always had homemade everything, and it was one of the worst events for me growing up because I have food aversions, a lot of them. This particular year, I was 12 years old, and since I hadn't eaten more than some bread, everyone was trying to get me to eat something. So finally, someone brings over a plate of chocolate cookies and tells me to just eat some. And I kid you not, it's been over a decade and I still remember these cookies. They're definitely the best cookies I've ever had in my life. But after eating them, my mouth feels kind of tingly and I start to feel sick, like really sick. I remember excusing myself to go to the upstairs bathroom. My lips felt swollen, my tongue was swollen, and I couldn't stop puking or crying. My mom came up after a while to scold me, again for being so picky about what I ate. She yelled, "They were just walnuts. What's so disgusting about walnuts that you need to make yourself throw up?" As if I was honestly making myself puke that bad, and then lying to her about feeling like my lip and tongue were swollen because of walnuts. So my mom gets mad, and we leave because I ruined the party. And then after walking home, which was a 5-minute walk, I'm still gagging and crying. So my mom angrily gets me in the car to go to emergency, and she yells at me until the first stoplight. At this point, I'm not puking, and I was too scared to keep crying. So my mom just turns around and we went home, reminding me that I ruined her fun day. 7 years later, I get allergy tested for something completely unrelated, and I ask for a copy of my results after the doctor hands me an EpiPen. A positive allergy was a 9mm rash, like a bug bite. My skin reaction to cashews was almost 30 centimeters. I find out I'm officially allergic to tree nuts. But still to this day, on our special Christmas Eve dinner, my entitled aunt and mom still have to remind me and everyone else how I ruined that one dinner because I was forcing myself to puke because I'm such a picky eater. They always bring up how crying about my swollen mouth, my tongue, and my throat burning was fake, and they believe I was being such a brat and I was forcing myself to puke over cookies. Cookies I still believe to be the best I've ever eaten. I'm looking forward to hearing that again this year. Guys, what a horrible thing to have happen to a 12-year-old. And what's even worse was the fact that mom made it no better by scolding and losing her mind at OP, convinced they were faking it. And are still convinced they were faking it to this day. Like, what if OP had a more severe reaction? What then? Thank goodness it wasn't that bad, but seriously, some parents out there, I tell you. This happened yesterday when I was working my retail job. I had already worked a full shift, and I was staying a bit longer since somebody had no-called, no-showed. I had maybe 2 hours left before I could go home, and that's when Karen shows up in my line. And here's the thing, this particular woman is infamous at our store, and everyone tries their best to avoid her as much as possible. This woman is the type of customer who makes sure you know exactly what she stands for, because she's going to go out of her way to tell you. And God help you if you're one hair out of line when it comes to her ideals. I guess today, her cause was mental health. Anyways, she gets up to me finally, and of course, she has a million different questions about various items that I don't have the answer to. She then wants to do price matching on like 80% of her items, and the other 20% she wants to know the prices. So I waste like 5 to 10 minutes dealing with her and her BS, while the other people in line are starting to get frustrated at what's going on. I finally get her through the line, and just when I think I'm done with her, I make the mistake of saying Happy Holidays as I hand the bags to her. I start ringing out the next customer, and I notice that she's still standing there looking at me. About halfway through the next person in this line, Karen comes behind the counter, and she stands right next to me to have a conversation. Karen says to me, "So I don't mean to bother you, and I know you didn't mean anything by it, but you really shouldn't be saying Happy Holidays. There's people with depression and other conditions that you could trigger with language like that, since they feel they have to be happy." Hearing that, I was super irritated, and my tone definitely reflected that. I respond with, "Okay." Karen then says, "You can drop the attitude, honey. You're the one out here endangering people by saying things like that. And right now, you're being very rude to me, a customer." I just say, "Okay, I will keep that in mind. Please step back and have a good day." At this point, the customer I was ringing up is getting angry. I go back to ringing her out, with Karen deciding that she's gonna step even closer, standing less than an inch away from me, and continues to try to have my undivided attention. And that's when I finally had enough, and I shout, "Stand back, ma'am." And things proceed to devolve from there. Karen's yelling, my new customer's yelling about Karen, and the whole thing's just a mess. Security eventually comes and gets Karen away from me. And a few minutes after that, my manager pulls me off the floor, and somebody else takes my place at the register. Now, to make a long story short, my manager wants me to apologize to Karen. I told him I won't, and he ends up sending me home an hour early as a result. I got written up and told my behavior was unacceptable, and if it happens again, I'm fired. Honestly, some people just need to get a frickin' life. Like there's no winning with some people. And it does suck working retail this time of year. Like, wish the wrong person happy holidays, they wonder why not Merry Christmas. You tell somebody Merry Christmas and they might respond with, well, why don't you say Happy Holidays? Not everyone celebrates Christmas. Like, oh my goodness, even saying nothing, some Karens will explode over. And this person comments, as somebody with mental illness, I have never been triggered by the word happy. But yeah, good on OP for not apologizing to that nasty woman. Like, the last thing you need is to feed that ego and enable that behavior. And shame on the manager for making OP apologize. OP should have said, I'm sorry, I wished you happy holidays. Please, have the worst, crappiest holiday possible. This story's from 2 years ago. It happened around the time I first moved to Vegas. I have a cousin who's got 7 kids, and her nasty Karen sister who has 1 child. For that 1 kid, she gets food stamps, child support, and she doesn't effing work. She's that type of person who trades their food stamps for cash and blows her money on stupid things like trips to expensive places, getting her nails done, and weed. She literally only cares about someone if she can use them. Mind you, my cousin with the 7 kids works her ass off. She is a little embarrassed that she gets government help because she feels responsible for having all 7 kids. But no matter how hard she works, she makes enough for bills, and the food stamp she gets buys just enough food to last the month. When this happened, I was 20, turning 21, and I had a good job and always had money left over after every check. My bills were paid on time, and I would help my mother from time to time. So we visit those kids one day, and the 3rd youngest told me that Christmas was coming. But he knows he wasn't getting anything from Santa, but he's excited that they get to eat good food on Christmas. Now, hearing this, it shattered my heart. All of our kids are well behaved, and they deserved a good Christmas. So I start asking them what they wanted. In order, from the oldest to youngest, kid number 1 wanted headphones and a new sweater. Kid number 2 wanted a sweater and nail polish. Kid number 3 wanted a football and cake. Kid 4 wants a soccer ball and cake. Kid number 5 wants Transformers and Power Ranger toys. Kid 6 wants My Little Pony. Number 7 wants anything Paw Patrol. So with that, I talk to my cousin and I tell her that I'll take Christmas off. And I want to take the kids for her. She looked like she wanted to cry and she thanked me and she told me she would try to pay me back. I told her, no, I'll take care of everything. So I got paid and I gave myself a $40 limit per kid. I got each kid 2 presents from Walmart, and with the remaining money, I got them all small stocking stuffers. Her kids appreciate everything you get them. The 2 that wanted cake, they got cake. I even wrapped it and put a bow on it, and we hid it behind the milk and eggs in the fridge. Now, I guess my cousin told her sister because I get a call from her nasty sister, and this is how the conversation went. She calls me and says, hey, so Kelly told me you were doing Christmas for her kids. I respond, yeah, they're spending Christmas Eve at my house. My mom's cooking dinner and we open presents the next morning. She then says, surely you have enough room for 1 more. My kid needs to be a part of this. What do you expect him to do on that day? Were you even planning on inviting him? Now, hearing her say that, I was shocked. And I say, oh, well, your son can join. Karen says, of course he can join. You would say no? I just reply, okay, no problem. Drop him off Christmas Eve so he can eat dinner with all of us and watch movies and then pick him up the next morning. Karen says, no problem. Now mind you, after buying the kids their presents and my parents their presents, I was a little broke. But I still scrounged what I could and I got her kid some smaller toys so he'd have something to open. Christmas Eve then comes and my mom picks up the 7 and brings them to the house. They're absolutely flabbergasted by the presents under the tree, and the fact that they actually have stockings with their names on them. We sit around, have fun talking, playing games, and I wait for 2 hours, and Karen never brings her son. We tried texting and calling, but there was no answer. So we feed the kids and start watching movies. After about 3 movies, all the kids pass out due to food comas. The next morning, we wake, and there's no word from Karen, so the kids start diving into their presents, and they're ecstatic. Everything's in full swing, and that's when banging on the door happens, and you can guess who that is. I open the door and say, oh, it's you guys. Why didn't you bring your son last night? Karen says, I got busy and we couldn't make it. Me, smelling BS and rolling my eyes, say, you wanna come in? Karen responds, "I'm sorry, we don't have time. We just came to get his presents, his meal, and then we're going to go." I respond, "His meal?" Karen says, "Yeah, the one your mom cooked." I let Karen know, "Yeah, that was last night. We tried texting and calling you, but you didn't answer, and the kids ate it all." That's when Karen says, "You didn't save my son a plate? Why would you not? He's a kid." I respond, "You never brought him, so no, we didn't think to save anything. The kids woke up and they ate the leftovers this morning." Karen then says, "Whatever, just give us his presents." Now, her kid looked like he wanted to stay and play. I felt bad for the kid. So I walk inside, swam through the wrapping paper until I got to his presents. They were small, so I put them in a gift bag. He opens them on my porch and his eyes lit up. It wasn't anything fancy. I got him a ninja figure, a wrestler he loves, a lot of silly putty, and a puzzle. He says, "I love this, thank you," giving me a hug. So I hug him back and said, "Merry Christmas." And this is when Karen says, "That's it? That's all you got him?" I then gave her a look, trying to compose myself. At this point, my bitch meter is rising. I say, "What do you mean?" Karen says, "How much did you spend on this? Like $15? I tell her it's none of your business. And that's when she says, "You know, you are selfish. You bought my son this cheap crap, so you could buy Chris and her kids all that stuff. I know you play favorites. How dare you do this to my son?" It's at this point my bitch meter explodes, and I say, "Are you insane? It's Christmas. Be glad I bought anything at all. You only ever call us when you want something, and you spend your money on BS when you have a child to care for. You don't even buy your son presents, so how dare you say that to me?" Karen looked shocked, and she asked me, "Who do you think you are?" I tell her, "I'm the woman that bought your kid Christmas presents because I wasn't selfish like his mother. What did you buy your son for Christmas?" At this point, she looked like she wanted to hit me, but she takes her son and leaves. I never saw her again after that, and we haven't spoken since. I don't know all the details, but grandmother now has legal custody of him. All I know is his mom was in trouble with the law, and she's serving time currently. Oh man, that is some choosing beggar stuff right there. And I'm just glad Opie gave Karen a piece of her mind because she really needed to hear it. Like, how dare you expect me to buy your child presents and then complain about it that it's not enough? But yeah, I just love how Opie wanted to make Christmas special for her cousin's kids, and I bet those kids will remember that day the rest of their lives. I've really enjoyed these entitled people stories, and I thought it's about time I share a story about my mom, because she's a special one. When I was in high school, my parents got divorced, and my mom has never stopped being bitter about it. The woman throws tantrums, and she tries to pull power moves to get more time or attention from her kids whenever possible. And since I live abroad, she kicks this behavior into overdrive when I come to visit. This particular year, my grandmother on my father's side had passed away. And not long before that, Dad's second wife passed away. So needless to say, my dad had it rough, and he wanted me to be home for Christmas. I didn't have the funds to buy a ticket, so Dad bought me one. He was putting me up at his place for the entire visit and feeding me all the food I could eat, never once asking for a cent. The only thing he wanted was his daughter's company during the holidays, and how could I say no to seeing my dad, who I love very much? It was lovely to spend time with him, and of course, I can't go home and not tell my mom I'm coming. The first thing she does is start telling me how I'll be spending my time here. She makes plans for every single day I'm home. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day is with her. I told her that's unreasonable since Dad paid for me to be home to spend time with him. She can have one day, but not both. Not that money's the most important thing ever, but Dad puts so much into bringing me here, and he deserves the greatest benefit, as opposed to the whiny, selfish brat I have for a mother. And hearing me say this, oh boy, she starts whining and laying on the guilt trip. She says stuff like, "But you're staying with Dad. He gets to see you every day. It's not fair. I'm only asking for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Christmas is about family, and you need to remember that Dad left me. He broke apart our family." I just respond, "Yeah, Mom, Christmas is about family, which is why I want to see my dad." We're planning dinner at Uncle's house. My mom then starts threatening to show up at my uncle's house to crash the dinner. Since, quote, we're still married in the eyes of God, I'm still a part of this family. I tell her, but I still want to spend the 24th or 25th with Dad. So this is when Mom brings in her trump card, taking Christmas from Dad. She says to me, I already told your grandparents you're coming to visit, and they're only available to visit on Christmas Day. Which is great, because she always uses her parents, who I adore, as a way to get what she wants. So I talked to my dad, and he's super understanding. He was married to her for nearly 20 years, and he knows how she is. So I'm off to my mom's house for Christmas Eve. The whole time I'm there, my mom's insisting that we have to eat the stuff she likes, drink what she wants, and to watch all the Christmas movies she wants to watch. And this is when I get a text from my best friend of 15 years. His mother, who's been battling cancer for years, had just passed on, and I'm in shock. I tell my mom I need to go to his house right away since he's home alone, and he just lost his mom to cancer. That's when my mom says, do you know what day it is? It's Christmas Eve. You're not going. I tell her, Mom, my best friend's mother just died. He's alone. I'm going there to make sure he's okay. Mom responds, no, you can't go. I won't allow you to leave my house. Christmas is about family. I tell her his family is dead. He's alone, so I'm going to his house right now. And Mom, actually shocked that I'm snapping back at her, say, okay, fine, go. If you leave, you are never coming back in this house. It's Christmas. Now, I know her tactics. Her bluffs used to work on me, but not anymore. I tell her, Mom, I'm just going to his house and I will come home when I decide to. Are you hearing me? His mother just died. Show some compassion. My mom then says, okay, go, but be home by 11 latest. Christmas is about family. So I went and came home sometime later than Mom's curfew, and I somehow survived the rest of the holiday. My mom never did apologize or saw the error of her ways. And yes, my mom did whine a bunch about me spending time going to the funeral instead of spending time with her. Remember, Christmas is about family, just not the dead or the grieving ones. You know what, I might see why Dad wanted to get away from Mom because she sounds like a wonderful person. But yeah, Opie could have totally avoided all of that by telling Mom they're not coming. Or just stop listening to her. Like sometimes it does suck to tell your parents no, but that's the only way to make someone stop. To let them know that what they're trying to do will not work. So this happened not long ago. I was wandering through the store that we'll call Bullseye, that employs people with red shirts, and I was coming up near the register when I hear the sound of a feminine voice starting to rise. And me, being the nosy woman I am, I hung around to listen to the drama. It was a Karen, and she was berating a poor employee. She shouts at him and says, "But you have to have it in stock. Your website says you do." The employee tells her, "The website's not always accurate. It's better to call the store." Karen says, "I need this item." The employee tells her, "You could probably get it at another store." Karen says, "I don't want to go to another store, you idiot. It says you have one left, so go find it." The manager then hears this and walks over. He says, "Hi, can I help you?" Karen turns to the manager and says, "I need this item," but she, this useless employee, says you don't have stock. The employee then says something to the manager, probably that it's not there. And the manager tells Karen this, and Karen says, "Well, where else can I get one?" Manager tells her, "You might be able to find it at another store." Karen responds, "I won't go to another store. I want it at this store." Manager says, "We could order it for you." Karen says, "How long will that take?" Manager tells her, "Right now, 2 weeks." And she loses it and says, "That's not going to work. I need this effing item for my kid's Christmas." At this point, the manager says, "Please keep your voice to reasonable levels." And Karen says, "F you. I will yell if I want to. You're being stupid." This is when the security guard comes over and says, "Please leave the store." Karen tells him, "No, I want my item." Security says, "Leave now." Karen goes quiet for a moment, and then she spins on her heel and storms away quickly. She's walking, and then she looks back and says, "I'm going to call corporate. I know a higher manager there, and I swear to God, I will." And all of a sudden, we hear a loud bang. Karen didn't see that the sliding door was slow opening and she walked right into it. Multiple people were stifling their laughter, including the security guard. The manager was going through a titanic struggle to keep composure, and that's when one customer, this old guy, just blurts out, "Ha!" And this is when Karen makes the decision to turn around and start swearing at the man who let out the "ha." Karen says, "Shut the F up, I'm gonna sue this store. You're all gonna be jobless by Christmas Day." She then turns to walk out the door, not realizing that by this point, she was behind the sensor range and the door won't open. She lets out a scream of rage and starts pounding on the door. The security guard then walks forward and waves to the sensor, making the door open. Karen lets out another scream and she storms out, and that was my Karen encounter. Honestly, if I was there, I don't think I would have held in my laughter like that, especially not after she was being that much of a nuisance. The old man did it right. She deserved that loud "ha" after walking into that door. But yeah, what I've learned from my experience, guys, is if a store ever displays 1 or 2 items in stock, there's a good chance it's not there. Like, I cannot tell you the amount of times I've gone to a store with one thing in stock and the employees can never find it. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /EntitledPeople. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's in our /EntitledPeople episode, another one, where nasty Karen teachers are getting taught lessons, guys. It's such a wild episode, so go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.